Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Crime Talk. My name is Scott Reich. Thank you for joining us on Tuesday, February 28th of 2023. This is our Tuesday night live program. We do it just about every Tuesday night, with the exception of when I maybe am in trial or maybe something else better comes along, but that doesn't happen very often. So every Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, you can join us here. And tonight we are streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Rumble. So welcome, everybody. We will wait a couple of minutes here, kind of get a few more people to join us. For those of you who maybe have joined us for the first time, my name is Scott Reich. I am a practicing criminal defense attorney here in the state of Colorado. And we have been doing our show now for 4.5 years, I guess. And thanks to each and all of you, we're at, 232,000 subscribers. And we appreciate you taking the time to watch us. We try to bring you information relevant to obviously the cases that everybody is following, but as well to try to explain to you what is really taking place in the courtroom. And I think I have a pretty good perspective from doing that, as I've been trying cases for 28 years. Hell, next time you go on your little, you go on your favorite crime commentator, ask them, hey, when was the last time you did a homicide trial? Yep, I bet they'll probably go crickets. They'll probably go silent, because most of them haven't. I can honestly sit here and say, yeah, that week I missed in February, I was in a homicide trial. So we do more than just our little Crime Talk show, and we don't just sit around and criticize and comment. We actually go do what lawyers are supposed to do, which is to go try cases. Now, obviously, sometimes that interferes with our programming schedule, as we try to bring you a video every day. And then we do a live show, and then we do a weekly recap on Sunday as well. But sometimes that is what things come up. Like for tomorrow, Scott, are you going to be able to do a show? Well, I'm going to try tomorrow. You say, Scott, what's going on? Well, I've got to fly and go do a preliminary hearing in another homicide case. Yes, that seems like that's where I spend most of my time, doing homicide cases these days. I think we've got 6 or 7 actively going. So, like I said, just remember when somebody says, oh, I was listening to somebody on this about that, about whatever. Okay, when was the last time they actually really did a trial? Just saying. Now, you may ask, well, Scott, what happened to your trial? And I will always tell you the truth. We crashed and burned. It wasn't pretty. Went down, first-degree murder. We gave it our best shot. Sometimes you can't change the facts. You can't change video. And you can't change a client's statements. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this, I mean this, not as trying to promote crime, because that's not what we want. If there is someone that would love to be out of business and not have any crime in the world, and I understand that is never going to happen, but if someone would like that to happen, it would be me, okay? I like my streets safe at night. I don't want to be able to take my beloved Miss Winnie the Bulldog and go out with the lovely Miss Kristen for a walk in the park and get mugged or robbed or shot or anything along those lines. I don't want anything like that. I want a nice, safe community. I want to be able to drive down the street and not see a homeless camp where people are being assaulted and stabbed. But I'm telling you, if you're going to do it, keep your mouth shut. Okay. Don't take your cell phone. Don't take your cell phone. But if you do take your cell phone, you should probably have one of these Crime Talk stickers on it, just so people know, hey, this is a sophisticated Crime Talk listener, and we're not even going to ask to question anybody because we know they're not going to give consent. Okay? We haven't done this in a while, but, just to show you, all right? The back of my business card, ladies and gentlemen, right here. give this to my clients. I'm blocking out my cell phone number, but I give that to my clients. Okay. Some of the best legal advice you're ever going to get. And Frank, do we have the lawyer queued up? Can you please? All right. So this is what's on the back of my business card. This is what everybody should do when they get in trouble, but they never do. I swear to God, they cannot help themselves. They cannot help themselves, which is why police always, there's only so much you can do sometimes in a case. And usually, I'm not there. Defense attorney is not there. They're only given the facts that they can work with. They can go out and find new facts, but they weren't there advising the client, because 99.9% of the time they're going to say, don't do that. Don't commit crime. That's certainly what I would say. Don't do it. Don't put yourself in that situation whereby you could be accused of something. Don't put yourself in that situation where it looks like you did something. Okay. Here's the back of my business card. Here we go. You ready? Here we go. I refuse to consent to any search of my premises, the location of my arrest, my car, or effects. I wish to exercise my rights under the 5th and 6th Amendment to remain silent and to have my attorney present during any questioning or lineup. If you ignore my exercise of these rights and attempt to procure a waiver, I wish to confer with my attorney prior to any conversation with the law enforcement agent on the subject of waiver. Frank, cue lawyer.
You, get out. Yeah, you.
All right, lawyer.
That is from the show Billions. That's where Dollar Bill gets arrested. Or I guess it was a simulated lawyer thing. But what do you do? Lawyer. There you go. I don't care if you're innocent. I don't care. Wrongfully accused or guilty of sin. Either way, shut your mouth. Bottom line. Okay. All right. Enough of that. Let's talk about what's on your mind. And tonight we have a special treat for everybody. We usually save this for our Patreon people. So here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. This is the secret BAT line or CrimeTalk line that normally is only given out to Patreon members. We may have to change this so that our Patreon members have a double super secret line, but here it is. 725-228-TALK. So 725-228-8255. Now, you only have one rule when you call in. One, we can talk about what you would like to talk about. But if you get on a tangent, because we have limited time here, I'm going to give you this to signal to Frank, and he's going to cut you off. Okay? So you have to keep it interesting. First, keep it interesting. Second, you have to actually be talking on your phone. You have to turn your computer down. There is a delay. I know that is hard to believe, but sometimes there is a delay from what goes out on the computer that goes to your computer. So you have to do that. Okay? So 725-228-TALK, 725-228-8255. CrimeTalk has expensed a lot of money to get this number. Okay? So don't give it out to just anybody. You have to be a true CrimeTalk aficionado. Frank, who do we have? All right, no name. Now, our high-tech, high-speed, low-drag system will ask you your name and what you'd like to talk about. And then through, I think, some sort of AI, it'll automatically put it in there. But, if you're going to try and trick us, we can cut you off just like that. All right, caller, who do we have?
It's Mama Pink, guys. How are you?
Mama Pink, how are you?
I am fantastic. I want to throw out there as the first caller tonight, just to let you know, Scott, that the chat group that you have collected compared to any other channel, they monitor themselves beautifully. They are so cordial and polite, and they're coming up with great ideas and for this case and what it could be or couldn't be and why it is or isn't. And I mean, I was sick for 2 weeks and online with these ladies and gentlemen for 9 days straight, 9 hours a day. And Scott, you have collected such a good group of fans. I just got to throw that out there first thing.
I think our CrimeTalk subscribers are probably some of the smartest people out there. So I totally agree with your comments that I've when I've been sitting here or whether I'm in my office watching the trial, I look at the comments and people, yeah, they're smart. I've always said, like, jurors, smartest people in the world. You can't get away with the BS. And I think our subscribers and people involved in the chat, they're smart. And I think for a while we had some people that wanted to cause a bunch of hate and discontent, but I think they've kind of moved on. And I'm all about, we don't censor people here. Just keep it pleasant. Just keep it pleasant. Write something nice. Like, you'd be proud to put it out on the front of of a newspaper someday, and not going to be embarrassed by something 5 years down the road saying, I can't believe I just said that. So thank you. I know, Mama Peak, you've been watching. I've seen your comments. So what do you think? The prosecution rested their case in rebuttal. And frankly, from the defense side, from a defense attorney, and don't get me wrong, I'm no fan of Alex Murdaugh, but I think the prosecution showed a little bit of nervousness today in their case in rebuttal. What are your thoughts?
I really think that they would have had a better chance, because the amount of circumstantial evidence that is available and is there and is provable from, outside of what SLED actually missed, which is just an embarrassment in itself. I mean, most of us here aren't lawyers or investigators or scientists, but I mean, everybody in the chat's like, why didn't they do that? Why didn't they investigate that? It's like, come on, guys. They dropped the ball. But beside that, my thing is that the prosecution really should have, especially with the ME, short answers. Don't explain it. Is this possible? No, it's not. Don't say because of this and that. It convolutes the entire answer, and it starts spinning stuff in circles again.
Just about everybody who has testified in a witness, just about everybody probably gets an F in trial preparation. I know these attorneys prepped these witnesses, and they probably think, oh, I've done this a million times, but I've never seen anything like it. The Alex Murdaugh cross-examination, worst cross-examination I think I could probably rank, at least in the top 5. The Mr. Waters did not control the witness at all, let him explain his answers. And frankly, I even thought at a couple of moments, I kind of feel sorry for Alex Murdaugh, and I don't even like the guy. And I
thought Alex was being a bully towards him.
He was
a couple of times when he set Waters down and said, no, let me finish. And I was like, if I was a juror, oh my God.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The prosecutor allowed that to take place, and he shouldn't have. He's like, no, it should have been yes and no questions. Leading questions. You tell them the answer in the question, and so they can only say yes or no. And if they deviate from anything from that, then you swat them. But they were like it was like they were conducting a deposition. Well, tell me more. Oh, tell me some more of your excuses that you have. Couldn't believe it. So,
but when Alex was like, no, you let me finish. I'd have been like, no, you're not going to finish. You gave your answer.
Even the witnesses for the prosecution today, they were defensive. All right. These people, Dr. Reimer, she does not like being questioned. And I think it was Eisenstadt or Eisen something was the attorney or the medical doctor, forensic pathologist that was hired by the defense. I thought he did a really good job. And I think that panic set in on the prosecution with these expert witnesses that are saying, you guys got it all wrong. And when you have Dr. Reimer saying, well, I probably should have taken better notes. I probably should have taken more photographs. Like, did you not think in all of the thousands of autopsies, one of the most powerful men in the state of South Carolina, that somebody's going to be hired to pick apart what you did? I think she just lost all credibility. I mean, as a professional,
to say no. it was not a contact wound. If it was a contact wound, the brain and the face would have been eviscerated. And leave it at that. We don't need a big, long, educated explanation.
Well, but here's the
and neither
thing.
does the jury.
Well, I know, but I think she should. I mean, I thought the defense scored some points. You know, it's like a tennis match, back and forth, back and forth. I think the defense scored some very good points. But all right, thank you, Mom Pink. We got lots of callers tonight, so thank you for calling in.
Excellent. I'm glad people are calling in. Thanks so much, Scott. Thank you, Frank. You've been awesome.
Thank you. Good evening, Kate. What's on your mind? Kate?
Hello.
Kate, can you hear me?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I can.
All right. What's on your mind?
Long time no see. I wanted to talk a little bit about the defenses. I talked with my husband. He's a hunter. And I asked him this evening how he thought that the pressure buildup that they said would happen within the skull could actually push the pellets up into the doorway and make a dent, and up into the door frame and make a dent. He said that there's no way that would be possible. The brain matter and things would splatter back on you, but there's no way that the bullets themselves would change their trajectory. It didn't make any sense, you know. So I wanted to know what your thoughts on that.
One of the experts for the prosecution was testifying the day. The guy has his PhD, but when you start questioning the defense, pretty good job today, and they're like, "Hey, doctor, when I see people that have PhDs or whatever, I start we're talking. So, what is your PhD in?" And it was like, how to make policing better in the George Floyd era or something like that. But he does crime scene reconstruction. As you may recall, the prosecution's expert, the guy was a mechanical engineer. He's like, the math doesn't lie. Here's the trajectories. Here's the size. This is what it's came down to. And let me tell you, in my experience, crime scene reconstruction individuals, it's not like you can go and get a degree in crime scene reconstruction. It's kind of like back in the day, even today, fingerprint people. It's like somebody's a police officer and like, hey, that's really interesting. Can I be one of those fingerprint people? And so they have an apprenticeship program. It's not like you go to school, they get an apprentice, then they have an association, and they say, hey, if you can pass this test, you can do that. And then maybe the department will have a couple of tests and like, can you match these fingerprints? Suddenly you are a fingerprint expert. And I'm not exaggerating that. I'm not exaggerating that. Same thing with crime scene reconstruction. 99.9% of the time, everyday citizens can do exactly what's in a crime scene reconstruction. Oh, a bullet goes into a hole. They put their little thing in there with a little protractor, a little compass to tell you, oh, if this is a flat surface and there's a bullet hole, what angle did it come in? Oh, how high would that be? Oh, yeah, there it is. It's not particularly complicated. So I'm more inclined to kind of follow the math guy because math stuff usually doesn't lie. And that's why I think the prosecution was all in a fluster trying to get up there. And because the defense experts who are credible people, credible experts, they're not some hired hack that'll say anything. These people have a professional reputation to protect. And they said, hey, everything SLED opined was basically wrong. And so as it relates to whether, are the bullets going to go back? Or I guess the shotgun shells. I'm not a firearm expert. I have lots of firearms. I love firearms. I have many, many shotguns. I have never, though, put one up close to somebody's brain housing group to see what's going to happen for obvious reasons. But could they go back, up? I think it depends more along the lines whether they're going to ricochet. Obviously the coroner's theory is that, well, he was shot in an upward position, first in the shoulder, then the head hence the reason why there's hair and brain matter throughout the building. The defense guy
They said it
says
was low back.
the defense guy said that could be the same if it was a contact wound. I mean, think about it. I remember once a long time ago when I had my officer of the day duties when I was in the military, and there was somebody that took their life, and it was with a shotgun. And how the doctor said today that it would be much worse if it was contact. I can tell you, it was like a nub. It was like a nub, and so it's. I mean, it's going to be violent, and are some of the little shells going to go all over? Yeah. Can you possibly recreate that every time? Probably not. Frankly, I think a lot of the theories, on both sides, are very plausible. But guess what? That's what the jury has to believe. And if they all can't come to the same conclusion, it's either not guilty or maybe a hung jury. So
I think it's going to be hung, personally.
Yeah.
I've been back and forth so many times this whole case. I mean, I knew he did it in the beginning, and then I knew maybe he didn't, and then I thought it might be hung. I've been all over the place with it, but I've been trying to pay attention anyway.
No, I understand. I mean, it's a close call for me. I mean, this case kind of goes back to the whole notion that I have. The best way for a prosecutor to lose a case, overtry the case. An example I often give is I remember once when I was a young attorney, I had a little case. It was in county court. It was a fight broke out at a quinceañera, big family celebration. Somebody starts a fight. Somebody got punched. If the prosecution had called one witness to say, that person over there, the defendant, is the one that punched me in the nose, that would have been it. But they called 5 witnesses. By the time they got done with their case and cross-examination, we did closing arguments. And the first thing the prosecutor said was, ladies and gentlemen, we may not know exactly what took place, but we sure know somebody got hit. Well, guess what? They have to prove, just like in the Alec Murdaugh case, who did it. They have to prove identity. They have to prove that it was Alec Murdaugh that committed these homicides, not somebody to look like him, not someone using his identity, not somebody hired by him, that it was him. That's the way the prosecution's charged it. And literally, the prosecution's going to get up and they're going to say, we did it. But listen, if the jurors have questions, the defense is going to say that's reasonable doubt, ladies and gentlemen. We've created doubt as to what has taken place here. So
I agree.
All right. Thank you for the call.
I think it'll be hung jury. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right. Who else do we have? No name caller. Where are you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, who's this?
Are you there?
Yes.
Oh, hi. I'm Lisa. I'm sorry I was off somewhere else. I feel bad because I wanted to talk to you about the report you did earlier about the student who beat up the teacher. My name's Lisa.
We can talk about that, Lisa. Yeah.
Okay. I was really shocked to hear that he had prior, I don't know what you would call it. I mean, they're
prior,
crimes.
let's call it what it was. Prior assaults. He had 2 or 3 prior assaults prior to this one where he beat a teacher's aide unconscious. He's 6'6" tall, 270, and he's been to the equivalent to a kid prison. Apparently, he didn't learn a single thing, which is probably why, in my humble opinion, one of the reasons why I don't do juvenile law is because I feel like my role as a defense attorney is absolutely useless in that. And the decisions are already made by all the social workers and what have you. And when they send you off to kid prison, what do you do from there? So anyway, go ahead. Your thoughts.
Well, what I was wondering is did you know that there are people already putting out videos defending him, that he's a child? And I'm like, that's not a child. He's only a couple of months away from turning 18.
He is
but
6.
I couldn't believe.
Listen, he is 6 months old from being 18. When he's 18, he can go enlist. He can go join the military, go off to foreign lands, do whatever he wants to do. He is emancipated. He is an adult. And frankly, if at 18, you can't basically take care of yourself, somebody else has probably failed him. I truly believe that. When I was 18, I was basically given an alarm clock and a suitcase and said, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And you figure it out. Okay. But this guy, he's going to be charged as an adult. That's why we were able to put his name up. He beat up
I did hear that.
and a teacher for what? Taking away his electronics that he shouldn't have in class in the first place? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Don't give me this, the brain doesn't mature until fully at 25. I don't buy that. There are lots of people out there
Do you
that
think
don't
they'll
get it.
offer him a plea? Do you think they'll try to plea it out, or do you think he'll actually get into real trouble for this?
Oh, I think he's going to take an adult felony, and he's on his way to a life of adult crime. He clearly has impulse control issues. If you believe that it is okay to go assault somebody because they stole your game that you shouldn't have in school when you were a student, to assault somebody like that, not a theft, like, they stole my stuff. It was, she was taking it away because you have to focus on school.
Yeah. Right.
Tell me how if anyone thinks that is appropriate, they are so naive. And you know what they should do? They should invite that young 17-year-old lad over to their residence, ask them to come on over and give him room and board and take care of him. I'm a firm believer of putting your money where your mouth is. You think this kid is such a child? Well, by God, you should go get him an attorney. Go do a neuropsychological evaluation. It's probably going to cost you about $5,000, and maybe use that to present for mitigation to the judge. But say, he's just a kid. He's just a big teddy bear. He's probably the nicest kid ever. Really? He went to the youth offender prison as a juvenile for assaults. He has impulse control issues. Past performance is indicative of future results. He is on his way.
Well, I think we need to protect people. Yep.
Next time he's going to kill somebody.
That's what I was thinking. People need to be protected. It's a shame, but I don't know that he can be helped on the outside. He's got to get help elsewhere. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't think he needs to be in the population.
Yeah.
Sounds awful of me, huh? But
no.
Anyway, thank you.
No.
I was really surprised at your story. I mean, I heard something about it, but not so much detail as you have. And I was like, my goodness. So anyway,
we didn't put the video up in its entirety because YouTube likes to ban stuff if we put videos like that up. Okay. So we didn't we put stills in the video today, Frank has told me. But if you watch the video, tell me how is that appropriate? And it's clear that teacher is knocked out cold, and he is continuing to pummel her. That individual is just dangerous. And as far as I'm concerned, if the guy hired me, I'd go do my lawyer stuff and do whatever. But as a member of the community, he is a danger to the community. He's had his shot at rehabilitation, and he blew it. All right.
You got to protect other people. Thanks, Scott. I enjoy your show very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for calling. Looks like we have a super chat. Is that right, Frank? Let's put that up here. Scott, are you able to live stream the jury verdicts? I don't want to miss it after watching the entire trial. Megan, that is the plan. We will have a jury watch. Maybe Frank, can we put up a countdown clock? So from the time the jury gets it, we start the deliberation button and keep it ticking. And I guess we'll have to turn it off when they go home for the evening, because technically they're not deliberating. But, if you have a quick verdict overnight, you think, well, I had them out overnight, that's when they go home and talk to their family members and friends about the case. And I'm just joking. They're not supposed to do that, right? They can only deliberate when they're all together, collected in one room. And yes, so we will try to do it. Like I said, this year, I don't know what it is, but first week in January, I was supposed to have 2 trials back to back. One got continued. The other one went away. Thank goodness. Then I had another trial, and then literally I got one in 2 weeks. Then just between now and July is just brutally ugly. But this has been the busiest first of the year. I mean, I cannot believe it's already February 28th. It has flown by, and just been super busy, and have, lots of coals in the fire, but trying to keep up on all of this stuff. And yes, we're going to try and watch it. We don't know when the jury will be back. No one will tell them. I'm sure they will get some sort of warning from the court staff that the verdict has come in. And my intention is, wherever I am, to go bring it to you. I mean, it's going to get good. I hate to keep saying, I told you so, but don't doubt me when I say that there's an interesting case early on. 2 charges. And some special interrogatories regarding the gun. But I said early on, when the boat accident case came forward and the Murdaughs were involved, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. And I got so many people, why are you covering the Murdaugh trial? This is of no importance. Really, have you seen before? Who is talking about this case before? There's multiple things on Netflix, shows on Netflix. CNBC, somebody told me today, did a quick series, the American Greed special that they did an Alex Murdaugh story. Who was talking about it first? We could probably go back to the first video that we had about the Alex Murdaugh trial. And I knew it was going to be good, just the way things went down. All right, got a call. Who do we have? Marsha.
Hey, Scott. How are you?
Good. I bet you never heard that before, right?
Yes. I wanted to ask you, well, first of all, I just wanted to say I love your channel. It's awesome. And I was watching the body language experts channel today during the break. And unfortunately, I'm right there with you. There's reasonable doubt. And they were looking at, Alex testimony, and it was, of course, it's just ridiculous how he was so polished, and, and the answers and everything. It was horrible. But my question is about the last defense attorney's cross-examination today. Do you think that he was doing that on purpose by stringing it out over longer and longer and longer just to piss off the prosecutor?
People don't get this, but as you're an attorney in a trial like what's going on here, you have to be able to kind of have a gut instinct of what is taking place. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The defense counsel, Mr. Griffin, thought that he was scoring some points. He's obviously sees the jury. And the fact that this guy kept disagreeing with him and saying, "I was so obvious," and I just can't believe how the other guy could come up with such a ridiculous conclusion. Oh, really? Well, I mean, he was a mechanical engineer, and he used that pesky little thing called physics and math to come up with stuff. And you're coming up with more of a, well, I kind of guess it came this way. And you got the doctor, Reimer. Well, I just kind of, based on my training experience, it wasn't a contact wound. It was been different. Well, but you didn't look.
Crazy. Mm-hmm.
So,
it's just crazy.
Like I said, in my humble opinion, I think the prosecution was scrambling. They had all these witnesses. The first one was, one of his law partners who said, well, he was aware that this other guy was dying of colon cancer. I can't remember the guy's name. But then he stole money before he died, and then more after he died, and whatever. And the law partner, he was even asked, "Boy, mate, well, do you think he did it?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know what he did. Yeah, I've had to pay hundreds of thousands, not millions of dollars out of my pocket. His law firm is ruined me, and I'm not angry with him."
Right.
And
He said he was like Nirvana or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah. So
Harpoolian.
he hadn't forgiven him. Yeah.
Listen, and I said, because I broke in at the break there, and I've had people steal what I to believe to be large
I
sums
heard
of money.
that. I watched it.
And like I said, if that man was dying in a hot desert and my water bottle was the only thing that could save his life, I would pour it out on the ground before I gave it to that guy. Okay.
Exactly. I'm with you.
And I would testify truthfully in court, but I wouldn't go out of my way to help him in any way possible. Okay.
No.
I sent him to prison. Not me, personally, the prosecutors did, but I put everything together to say, here it is. And, I'll never get all my money back. I get a few dollars here and there in restitution when he makes in prison. But that's the way it is. I will never, and the sad thing about it is I trusted the guy because I went to school with his brother in high school.
Yeah.
His
And
sister,
kind of like the Brotherhood in the South. Yeah.
his sister worked for me, said, oh, he's going to be great. He'd be great. And it was all just a big con job from the beginning as he was stealing my money. So
Wow.
I got a real problem with that. So that's what, the first witness they called today. Then the prosecution started calling all their experts to say, don't listen to their experts who have really good credentials and are credible. I mean, hell, their one crime scene reconstruction guy was a forensic guy that worked with Dr. Lee, right? The famous Dr. Lee. I mean, the guy's got some credentials. He worked on the staircase case. Remember where the wife tripped down the stairs and what have you?
Oh, yes. That it was the crow or the chicken or something.
Well, yeah, something like that. They tripped on the back stairs. Yeah. And so,
the blood spatter. And, oh, goodness.
Yep. So they had credible witnesses. And like I said, the quickest way for a prosecutor to lose a case is a slow, painful over-trying of the case.
They just muddied it all up. I'm with you. Get in and get out.
And the fact that the fact that the prosecution droned on for 3 days of nothing but financial crime stuff. I mean, I get that was their theory.
I don't think they should have. Yeah, I mean, just a tiny bit on that, because when you tell your jury, God forbid if I was on that jury. I've had jury meetings before. I couldn't imagine. I think I would have stood up in this last one and said, just what the, and just, oh my God. I don't know how they stood it.
Yeah.
But, just get in and just get out, and that the money thing. Once we all knew about it, that's all that we need to know.
Yep. And like I said, yep. No, I get you. Get in, get out. He's tried for 2 counts of first-degree murder. He's a liar. He's a lying, cheating bastard who stole money from his friends, his family, his coworkers, his clients. I get that. But guess what?
You can't hang your hat on that.
He's not on trial for that. That is what they refer to as 404B evidence. Evidence that is normally excluded.
Right. But I would have liked for them to at least mention that he had pled guilty and then let it go. I mean, not guilty. I'm sorry. He has said not guilty in those cases. But yeah, go on. You're right. It was just crazy.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for your call. Thanks for watching the channel. We got a couple more people who want to talk, and then we'll do some. See, Kristen Randall Graham says he killed them. Kristen, you may be absolutely correct. You may be absolutely correct. And yes, defense certainly guilty of dragging testimony out in the Murdaugh trial as well. Totally agree. There were times where I was like, get on with it for both sides. And let's be fair, Henry Lee was also very criticized for being a hired gun because he got something wrong and testified to it. I get it, but that's why it's subject to being brought out in court under oath, subject to cross-examination. Cross-examination is the greatest truth-seeking tool ever invented in the entire world. Why do you think people don't want to be put under oath? Why do you think they don't want to be subject to cross-examination? Think about it. Could you imagine if you actually had to be a politician or something and be subject to a real cross-examination? Like, answer the question, not given some canned response. They would fail miserably. No one would get a vote of confidence in any way whatsoever. So to be able to go up there with your evidence, be basically peer reviewed, right? All their experts were peer reviewed by other people in their area of study, and you have conflicting views. Truly battle of the experts at this point. Hell, there was so much expert testimony, I hardly recall hearing from Alec Murdaugh at this point. I was a little surprised that they put him on in the middle of their case in chief, but now I think, wow, that turned out pretty well. So they got all the experts in the beginning, a little bit of Alec Murdaugh, and then create a little more confusion with the expert witnesses at the end. That's what they end on. I'm going to say pretty good move on the part of the defense. Let me know what you think. All right, let's see here. Scott, let's see here. Tanya, Scott, the defense witnesses were so good. No, Scott, their witnesses today refuted their medical examiner, and so the rectal thermometer should have been used instead of the armpits. Yeah, remember that? Yeah. Kristen wants to know, did Alex ever take a polygraph test? No. And guess what? Wouldn't be admissible anyway. Polygraphs are junk. It is junk science. Christina, Alex Murdaugh is going to be a hung jury. You may be right, and here's the beautiful thing. We won't know. And then I'm telling you this is a little inside baseball tip here, ladies and gentlemen. Only going to hear it on Crime Talk from an attorney that actually tries cases. Okay? The second worst part of any trial is when the jury has it. Okay? The worst part of any trial is when they say the jury has a verdict. And after all these years, I still get a sinking feeling in my stomach. And it's always interesting to talk to clients. They're like, what does that mean? Or they have a question. Oh, I don't know. It could mean anything. What does that? I don't know. We're all going to find out together. Everybody thinks that the attorneys have the inside scoop, like somehow they know. No, they literally all find out at the exact same time when the jury verdict is read. Mandy, yes, the 404B was allowed because defense opened the door. I agree. Big mistake on the part of Mr. Griffin, asking basically, he's such a good guy. That's the problem, right? When you go to court, ladies and gentlemen, one of the fundamental principles is that you are going to be tried on this charge and this charge alone. So when you go to 404B evidence, it's acts of other wrongs, crimes, or misconduct. That usually stays out. The government has to give notice of it, and they're going to say, we're going to present this, and they have to be very specific as to what they're going to do. But when you start saying your guy is a good guy, okay, because trials should be about facts. Nobody cares if your client's a good guy. Frankly, no one really cares if your client's a bad guy. It's only simply about whether the facts took place. So in this case, doesn't matter if Alec Murdaugh is a lying, cheating bastard, right? It really only matters, is he the one that pulled the trigger as he's charged? That's it. But his attorney started getting, well, he's such a good guy, and he was there, he's a great guy, trying to get in good character evidence. And that opens the door to say, oh, you think he's a good guy? Well, let me test the basis of your opinion. Are you aware that he stole $7 million from his clients, friends, law partners? Ooh, no, I really wasn't aware of that. Oh, okay. So maybe you don't know this guy as well as you thought you did, right? And then it just kept coming, and it just kept coming. But once again, 404B evidence. I truly believe, this is my theory, but I'm a defense guy, so let me know. And the reason why I came to this conclusion years ago was because there was just one prosecutor that I dealt with all the time. And if you had a client that did anything to their spouse, they would go dig up all the cases that were usually filed, and the cases were dismissed to show that there was like a cycle of violence, usually domestic violence cases. She was in the domestic violence unit. And she would file her notice. I would file my objections. The judge would most of the time keep it all out because, people have a right to be tried on these charges. And most of those were in fact dismissed. But 404B evidence can be crimes where even where people were acquitted of it. It can come in if the court finds enough of a nexus. But the courts are finally starting to get tired of the 404B evidence because it has to be narrowly tailored to show, motive, absence of mistake, modus operandi. And it has to be very narrowly tailored. So let's just say Alex Murdaugh gets convicted. One of the things they're going to be is, hey, judge, even if the defense screwed up and opened the door to the 404B evidence, you let it go on too long. And although the 404B evidence was admissible pursuant to Rule 401 and wasn't more prejudicial than probative value under a 403 analysis, you still should have, because the cumulative effect made it prejudicial, made it far more prejudicial than probative. And guess what? That's how cases come back. And that used to be my argument to the judges. Like, Judge, we've had cases come back because you allowed 404B evidence in. And the reason you know it, I know it, the prosecutors know it, the reason why they want this 404B evidence to come in is that they have a weak case other than that. They spent, 3 or 4 days bringing in all the financial crimes of Alex Murdaugh, which he got up and admitted to. And tell me, what evidence, what overwhelming evidence do they have of Alex Murdaugh? And like I said, don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of Alex Murdaugh. I think he is a lying, cheating bastard that stole all his money, and he should be disbarred and never practice law ever again. But when you look at the evidence as it relates, yes, he lied even being at the scene. But was it because he was scared? Yeah, I don't know. Does it mean he did something? I don't know exactly. But they usually bring it in when they know their case is weak. And what did the prosecutor, even in their rebuttal case, he stole the money. He lied. He can lie to a jury. He can get up there and lie. He can work the jury. He must be working you all, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, really? Because aren't you kind of doing that too, Mr. Prosecutor, man? Let's get to the beef of it. Where is the evidence that he's the one that pulled the trigger? Just saying, it seems a little weak. Just saying. Harpatoulian, he's a state senator. Yes, he's a state senator. And not apparently in the Capitol doing votes, taking votes, passing legislation, because he's down here. Let's see. Oh, here. Shar. I think the judge is so pro-prosecution. If there's a conviction, there'll be appeal, and I feel like the verdict will be overturned. I like this judge. I do. I think he's been a pretty good judge. I think in the 404B, he maybe allowed a little too much to come in. He's kind of given the prosecution their way. But you know what? Welcome to the world of criminal prosecution trials, right? If anybody thinks that it's a fair playing field for the defense, get for real. Prosecution usually gets what they want. The case law is bad for the defense. The laws are bad for the defense. The evidentiary rulings are going to be bad. And sometimes their judges are totally right. All you can say is, John, or I object. And then you tell your colleagues, I'm objecting because this evidence is devastating to my case, right? There's nothing you can do. All right. And, I know everybody thinks, oh, what, the defense, true believer. Hey, I'm a realist. That's what I've always said. You got true believers out there, and then you got people like me. I'm the mayor of Realville. I got to look at a case for what I think it looks like in front of a jury. You cannot make stupid arguments in front of a jury. The jury will punish you. And Alex Murdaugh knows that if you lie to them, they will punish you. And what did he get up there and do? He admitted all of his faults and wrongs. That'll go a long way. I really think it will. Well, I don't know. I would love to see the jury. God, I wish we could go watch the verdict come in. Ah, that would be the best. All right, we have a call. Who? Lorraine. Welcome to the show.
Sorry. Thank you. It's Lori Ann.
Lori Ann, I apologize.
No problem. It was probably my recording. I started in one way, but then I've been listening to all this going on here behind the scenes. But my question is two questions. One is pretty basic about the United States jury. Does it have to be unanimous, or do they keep getting kicked back until they come back unanimous? Or I used to recall years ago you could come with, I thought, a majority. Not sure about that. And then the other thing is, Scott, I also had a clerk working for a criminal lawyer who stole $225,000 from him before she got caught. And being a criminal lawyer, he never charged her. He let her go.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm not that sympathetic. Like, I will be your greatest.
I know, but you reminded me of saying, don't be the dumb criminal. Walk away, Scott. Walk away.
Hey, it was right there. You know, if the guy hadn't violated the trust, the guy come to me and said, like, hey, man, I got myself in a jam. I've got issues or whatever. I probably would have helped him out. But the way he went about it and stole from me and tried to cover it up, yeah, there's nothing I can do. Like, I can be your greatest friend or your worst freaking enemy. And you do that. Yes, I'm sorry. I have no choice, but I have to crush you. That's just the way it is. Okay.
Go for it.
So anyway, yeah, don't be the dumb criminal. We got to let it go. And I felt dumb. I assure you of that. You know, you always hear about, somebody felt, duped. They didn't go to the police when they got conned, like usually older people, and,
I just had to laugh when you said,
but it's embarrassing.
I mean,
I'm telling you, it's embarrassing because first of all, it's like, I had just gotten back I was doing a 3-week double homicide case that involved children. So I'm literally living in an Airbnb house on the other side of the state. And I get this weird text like, hey, need to move some money around for payroll. And I'm like, well, that's weird. There should be plenty of money in there. But I'm like, okay, transfer it out of my, and I was like, something's just not right. So when I get back, it all blew up. But, it was embarrassing because you feel so stupid because you're like,
it's a very similar story to what my criminal lawyer went through. She was taking it to pay her mortgage and he had no clue because he wasn't watching. Yeah.
You were, and I'm sure he was busy. He trusted them.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is great. I don't have to go through the mail. He's taking care of everything. And even now you get all the stuff. Wouldn't you like to go back on, e-service so you can get all? Nope. I want a physical bill and I'm going to sign the check. It comes in, goes out. I check my account about 4 times a day right now. All of them, but all my business, all my private accounts, I swear to God, I check them because I'm never going to get duped like that again. I trusted somebody. You get busy. Like I'm in the business. I'm hiring them to help run my business. I'm busy.
I know, I
am in the business of trying cases. And when somebody takes advantage of you,
my mind how people think they're not going to get caught and they're working for a criminal lawyer. It baffles my mind.
Yeah. Like, I remember when the detective showed up, not to get too far in tangent here, but he was literally like, wow, this is amazing. You have everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know exactly what you need to prove this case. Here it is. Nice and pretty, wrapped up with a little bow on top. And then he got arrested. He got charged criminally, went to prison. I had to claw back money from his relatives. I think I paid for his daughters to go to college. But I got my justice. They were all together on Thanksgiving Day.
Good for you, right?
I told the process.
Funny. It's good to hear our good old Scott Rice defense lawyer even has his own defense issue personally.
Hey, I told the process server, I will pay you double or triple. I can't remember what it was. If you serve them on Thanksgiving. I know this family.
Nice.
I've known them. They're all going to be together. And they all got served on Thanksgiving. Happy freaking Thanksgiving, ladies and gentlemen.
Smart. Well, okay. Well, if you could answer my quick question about the jury? Am I wrong that
Nope.
I thought, or maybe it's different in different states, that sometimes it's a majority, or is it
Criminal cases have to
US, I'm
be
in Canada?
criminal cases have to be unanimous. There was a case that just recently
Okay.
went up to the United States Supreme Court. Louisiana still had some stuff where basically it was, like 2/3 majority or something. I think Oregon, in all of their nonsense, were like, "Oh, let's make it easier. Let's once again, it didn't have to be unanimous. A non-unanimous jury is like 2/3 vote or something." All those statutes are gone. The Supreme Court has said it has to be unanimous. Even in civil trials, unanimous. The only exception I know of where a jury trial does not have to be unanimous is in a military court martial. And then it becomes a numbers game. And we used to do those when I was in the Marine Corps. Okay, you had 6 or 7 jurors on there. Well, there was a 2/3 vote, but it was different because there were rules. That's because military always has rules. And their system was you deliberate, you talk about it, and then you take a vote on count 1. And if it wasn't unanimous or it wasn't greater than 2/3, it was not guilty. You didn't get to go back and sit and talk about it. That was it. And so that's different. So, and I think that system still remains in place. I don't think anybody's challenged that, but they probably should for sure. But yeah, it has to be unanimous. Either way, they've either proven the case beyond a reasonable doubt to each and every element of the offense charged, or it's their solemn oath and obligation to say not guilty.
So there's a chance in this case then that they're going to come back with questions, I presume, because they're not allowed to take notes, which boggles my mind as well. And so this might get kicked back until, like, how often can the jury kick back questions and get frustrated before a judge calls it a mistrial or a hung jury? Like, how does that work going forward with that jury situation?
The jury can take as little or as much time as they want to deliberate. And it isn't until they would come out with the judge and say, "Hey, judge, we're deadlocked. What should we do?"
Okay.
And then at that point, the judge would give what they call an Allen instruction. I know that's what we call it here, but I think it's an Allen instruction from the United States Supreme Court case, which basically says, jury, get back out here in the jury box. Let me read you this, what they call a modified Allen instruction. It says, "Hey, you are deadlocked, and we want you to resolve this case. A lot of time, energy, and effort's gone into everything. But if you're firmly convinced, don't change your mind. But don't be afraid to reevaluate your positions, listen to other people, etc., and go back and deliberate and try to make a decision." Sometimes they come back and they're like,
what's reasonable? Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes they come back and say, "We're deadlocked." And frankly, I ask jurors in voir dire all the time, "Hey, juror number whatever, number 12. Let's say it's Friday afternoon. You're back there deliberating and it's 11-1. Either way, doesn't matter. Guilty, not guilty.
Yeah.
Not getting into that. Are you going to change your mind just so you can go home and enjoy the weekend?" Because I want somebody that's going to be hold to their convictions. I don't want somebody that I refer to as plant life that's simply going to go with whichever way the light is shining in, right? "Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, it's pretty. Oh, it's nice over here. Oh, feel the nice warm sunlight. Oh, plant life going towards it," right? I want jurors that are going to be independent thinkers, jurors that are not going to just follow the crowd. And if they are convinced one way or the other, they're going to stick with it.
Yeah, but after a trial like this with no notes, I can't blame them for saying, at $5 a day, I need to go home now. It's been months. See you later.
Yeah.
I'm checking out.
Well, who knows? As long as they, hopefully they don't write books about, how their parents or somebody they were the victim of a homicide or something like that.
Correct.
Like we had out in California with, I can see it. Scott Peterson. That was his name. I could see his face, but I couldn't think of the name. Where the juror came back and said, "Oh, I was, didn't disclose certain things." So we'll have to wait and see. All right. Thank you for your call. Hopefully I answered your question.
Thank you as well. Take care, my dear.
Another call, Frank. Who do we have? Sally? Are you there?
Oh, hi. Hi, Scott. Yes, I'm here. I have kind of two questions. It's regarding the murder trial.
All right.
There was Harpootlian with a gun pointing it at prosecution and made a joke, and people laughed, and that it was plausible Putin would feel like shooting prosecution along with Alex. So what's the difference of Alex wanting to shoot his wife feeling like that also? And if it's easy for Putin to do that, then it would be easy for Alex to feel that way. And why did the judge not admonish him or remind him this is a gun murder trial? Or did he just want to let him go to show how they really are? And especially what happened in the Alec Baldwin gun shooting. Why would this be acceptable or funny? And because it's either Putin's hands or Alex's hands pointing a gun at a person. And then my second question would be regarding the perjury. He admitted he lied to investigators, and Martha Stewart went to prison, not for insider trading, but to lying to investigators. And so is that something that they'll address in the financial trials rather than wasting time on perjury because he's already admitted he's a liar?
Yeah, they're not gonna file perjury with him. They're not gonna file false information. Whatever happens here, he will plead guilty to all the financial crime cases. That's the least of his concerns. You know, he just got charged the other day for having contraband. Apparently brought a book back that he shouldn't have had from the courtroom, and they charged him with a misdemeanor because they're going to show him. Here's a guy looking at multiple life sentences, and a contraband book. It's the least of his concern. The financial crimes, he could spend, I think, 700 years or something if all those were stacked consecutive. But for whatever reason, he wants to make sure that his name, I guess his good name, be cleared so that he cannot take that to his grave, that he has killed his wife and kids. That seems what he seems to be more concerned about, clearing his good name as to that. He did all the other stuff and send him to prison for that. Harpootlian.
And then what about the gun?
Harpootlian, it was a bad, inappropriate joke that clearly didn't go well. People chuckled, I guess, probably depending on which side of the courtroom they were sitting on. It was inappropriate. He shouldn't have said it. I think the judge probably didn't want to highlight it. But I've seen similar stuff done by prosecutors, or somebody gets up on the stand and they start moving the gun around like, it's just, so yeah. Frank, I can't. So I hope that answers your question. There's a super chat there, but I can't seem to get it to pop up on the screen. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And thank you very much. And I appreciate your comments and commentaries. And thank you for having your channel.
Well, thank you for listening and watching. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. There it is. Living on Love. How is it possible the investigator lied to the grand jury at least 2 times he admitted to, and there was not one piece of evidence at all that put Alec Murdaugh behind the trigger that he's being charged? So unjust, I'm assuming is what that means. I agree. But remember, at the grand jury, the defense isn't invited. The defense doesn't get to participate. Y'all have heard the old adage, you can indict a ham sandwich. Well, that's true because only the prosecutor says, here's a true bill, sign it. Don't you think we present enough evidence? And their job is not to really call into question anything. It's kind of like, here's a rubber stamp, go along with it. I'm a grand juror. Send them on their way. But guess what? Imagine if that was the only trial that you had, a grand jury, and nobody got to show up, which is why I still think our system, however flawed it is, still is the best system around because we get to cross-examine people. Look at all the stuff that came out on cross-examination. And I've said this to juries, ladies and gentlemen, prosecutor gets up here and says, This is a quest for the truth. And I say, ladies and gentlemen, during voir dire, I hope that is the case. And if it was in fact the quest for the truth that the prosecutor says it is, I should never have to get my butt out of my chair and ask a single question, because he is going to ask all the questions that a defense attorney would ask, or anybody associated with the case. Anybody could pick it out and read it, right? And I said, lady, and then you get up and close an argument. Remember we talked about, they said this is a quest for the truth. Really? Was it a truth? Because I sure had to ask a whole lot of questions. And you remember how everybody up there on the plaintiff side or the prosecution side, they were all teary-eyed when the prosecutor was asking them questions of how traumatic it was and what was going on. And then on cross-examination, just like in the Murdaugh trial, when he's up there talking, he's crying and snot coming out of his nose, giving him a tissue, get him a tissue. And then when cross-examination started, the tears got turned off. Just saying. It plays both ways. But that's what I'm talking about. It's not a quest for the truth. I get it. But at the end of the day, the prosecution wants to win. They want that notch in their belt buckle that they got the victory. The defense wants to win, to say the prosecution didn't prove their case. Quest for the truth? I don't know. Just call it like it is. If it was truly a quest for the truth by the prosecution, the defense would never have to get up and ask a single question. And then you got stuff that came out. Remember what they said? Remember all the people, high velocity blood splatter. It was on his shirt. I don't know. Did I miss that portion of the trial? I didn't hear any of that high velocity blood splatter. Hell, I don't even think that expert that gave that opinion even said anything. Did he? Didn't even show up for trial. Isn't that funny? And that's what their narrative was. It was being leaked. There was high velocity blood splatter. The sources at Fitz News said there was high velocity blood splatter and that case was over. Well, I don't know. Everyone, expert said it. If you were nearby, that shotgun went off, whether it's close up next, personal to old poor Paul Murdoch's brain housing group, and that thing was squished like a freaking grape, everybody agrees you would have had a mess on your hands. Prosecution's job to show where all that stuff went. Have they shown it? So in that matter of time, we already know they screwed up the body temp, probably screwed up the time of death, which screws up their timeline. Now, granted, Paul, Alec Murdaugh lied. I'm not here to defend anybody. I'm just here to talk about the facts and the trial strategy as well. How do I make that one go, though? Living on Love. Also think it's foolish that the state's bringing in 2 weeks of financial fraud. And they're also trying to say that no one else had a motive to kill them. Seems rather contradictory to me. Living on Love. Don't disagree. Where were all the threats? That we had a case here in Colorado where we had a district attorney that was killed. And they went back through every case everyone had prosecuted. Alec Murdaugh, he wasn't a prosecutor, really. Disgruntled family member, somebody disgruntled client, who knows? Was it somebody associated with the boat case? I don't know. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff. And the bottom line is, if you have questions, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, well, that's reasonable doubt. That's reasonable doubt. So just something to think about. If you have questions and say, well, I think Alec Murdaugh was a bad guy. I don't think I could trust him very much to handle my case or my money and financial affairs. But, I just really got some questions about how he could have done it. It doesn't really make sense. That is reasonable doubt, ladies and gentlemen. Another super chat here. Scott, what's the next big case on your radar? Well, Obviously, the next big case is going to be the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell case. It's supposed to start here in April 6th or something, 4th. But of course, our judge in that case, Judge Boyce, says no, the people of the state of Idaho and the United States are too stupid to understand a trial, that they will not have a circus. They cannot, Idaho is incapable of maintaining a decorum in the courtroom if there is a media circus outside. Yes, Judge Boyce. He's the one that can change it just like that. But the prosecutors, and you should be very, very concerned, every freaking prosecutor in the world should say, we want every case, shown on TV. I think there should be court access to every courtroom in America so people can see what's going on. It will some days make you very happy the justice gets served. Some days you'll be shocked at what takes place, but the people should be allowed to see what takes place in their courtrooms and not at the whim of a judge whether he's going to allow it. Bottom line, in my humble opinion. And I just can't imagine Judge Boyce, he can't take a look at the Alec Murdaugh trial and simply conclude, hey, I can keep decorum and everything in my courthouse. Hell, this guy can't even conduct a hearing in public under the guise of it's so sensitive, it could affect a fair trial for everyone. Well, we're moving from the southeastern part of the state over to the northwestern part of the state up in Boise. They're going to find people. I mean, Judge Boyce and the prosecutors in this case, in the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell case, must think that we're all stupid. We simply cannot handle seeing what takes place in a courtroom. Hell, as I commented in today's story, he gets notified late last week that the DNA tests were coming in. Somehow, the DNA results get disseminated to the court and the council. Why? The only issue before the judge is the motion to continue that was filed on behalf of Chad Daybell in that particular case. Why does the judge getting the discovery in the case? Is it going to be because it's so overwhelming, Judge? I need time to prepare? The judge needs to make his mind up. Listen, you got evidence, you need it, good faith basis. Hey, we really hate to do this, but I guess we're going to have to sever this case. Oh, but the prosecutor, it's so expensive to try this case twice. Oh, we don't want to do this twice. Go try the damn case twice if that's what you have to do. I just don't get it. So anyway, yeah, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell case. The problem is it's not going to be televised. You're just going to get the audio. And I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be the same. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think the Alec Murdaugh trial and the judge in the Alec Murdaugh trial have handled this case exceptionally well. Hell, early on, remember the prosecutors? What did the prosecutors want to do in the Alec Murdaugh case? Judge, we'd like to seal everything. We'd like to basically be conducted in camera if we have issues. And the judge was like, yeah, no, we don't do things in chambers. We do things out in the public. Why would Alec Murdaugh get special trust? And guess what? They're so worried about it in Idaho because apparently in Idaho, you can't read anything. If you read a single thing about a case, clearly you're forever tainted. You can never be fair and impartial. In the Alex Murdaugh case, when they asked how many jurors heard about this case, from reports in the courtroom, every single juror was like, yep, heard about it. But guess what? That's not the legal standard. The legal standard is, can you set aside what you have heard and read about and make your decision based upon what you hear in the courtroom over the course of the trial with legal and competent evidence? That is testimony as well as exhibits that are admitted. That's it. So, I don't know. Idaho, I love the state of Idaho. Great place. Frank and I went over there one day early on. We went down there to what's the little city there, the county, lovely little, it was like they dropped us Idaho Falls, Idaho. And it was like dropping into like perfect American city central casting. I mean, people probably left their keys in the car. The doors unlocked. People riding around on their bikes, waving at everybody. It was like something out of Mayberry. And I mean that in a good way. Okay. A super chat here. Why do you think Aiden Fucci changed his plea to guilty? Who knows? He was set for trial. Maybe he just chickened out, for lack of a better term. Didn't want to put the families through it. Maybe he thought he would get a little love on sentencing. Who knows why? He's a kid. I mean, but should be charged as an adult appropriately, right? You do adult things, you get adult consequences. That's the way life treats you. You do, what do they say? The law punishes the stupid, but protects the ignorant. And that's true. Like, oh, I didn't know I did that. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, they're going to maybe get in trouble, but that's about it. But when you do stupid stuff, act stupid, assault teachers, stuff like that, that's a problem. All right, another super chat. Scott, Wilted Lettuce, aka known as Christina York. Scott, my question is, do you think the jury's going to such a remote location is going to help or hurt the defense? Huge land. I say it is going to help the defense. Like I said, we don't get to see the jury. The defense does. The defense must still think that they have a fighting chance. The prosecution, I'm telling you, during the defense case, they were over there, a bunch of busy little bees working away. They have like 12 attorneys over there on the prosecution side. I think the first one of them today actually got to say something. He's been there the entire time and got to cross-examine one of the experts. Been there the entire time. They got like 12 of them. And remember, these, the taxpayers, the people of the great state of South Carolina, paying for 8 attorneys to be there. Now the defense has got, I think, 4 at their table, and who knows what support staff. But I think it's going to be good for the defense. I think if you look at the aerial photographs of that property, it is massive. And, one of the guys did the testing, basically saying you can't hear a gunshot if you're up at the house down there. What was the prosecution? We object, Your Honor. It's not in the same condition. Some of those trees have grown bigger over the last 2 years. Okay, so tell the jury that this is not exactly the way it appeared 2 years ago. The trees are a little thicker. Let the jury decide. So, there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you'd like to continue the conversation, we're going to jump over to our Patreon show. So if you'd like to do that, please be a Patreon, and we'll be there in just a few minutes. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the people calling in. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. We know there's lots of things you could do. The fact that you choose to hang out and do it with us, well, we appreciate you. So, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk, and we'll have the live stream up ready to go as soon as that jury gets back, because apparently the instructions are done and closing arguments will begin. And then the jury deliberation countdown begins. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.